And welcome to the next episode of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale with Don and with Kevin. And that's you, Kevin.
How are you, Don? I'm waving to you.
Just terrific, Kevin. I'm just terrific. It's another week here in the beautiful city of Scottsdale.
It's nice weather.
Does it get any better than this?
It's great.
It's
going to get hot soon, but right now we're just enjoying every minute of it.
When it gets hot, we won't talk about it anymore. How's that?
Yeah.
We'll just enjoy it while we got it. And we also enjoy it because every single time we have one of these episodes, we have fantastic guests, and we have another one today. Today's guest helps connect a fast-moving industry with the people it serves every single day. Kelli Kuester is the Aviation Planning and Outreach Coordinator for the Scottsdale Airport, where she plays a key role in shaping how the airport grows, how they communicate out there, how they stay connected to the community. Kelli, welcome.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me here.
Great to have you. As we know, now we've seen you in other roles. So one of the things we'd love to do is get caught up with people in terms of what their backgrounds are, where they came from, and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, gosh, what a story. So I got my start with the city of Scottsdale in 2013. So I was Mayor Lane's executive assistant. I got promoted to management assistant for the mayor's office. And then I went to Jim Thompson's office as his executive assistant. So I spent about 10 years in City Hall. And then the airport, Scottsdale Airport, had a couple of retirements that all occurred around the same time. So I was lucky enough to be able to transfer over and become the planning and outreach coordinator. So aviation has always been in my blood. My dad actually worked for Deer Valley Airport for the city of Phoenix. Oh. So I grew up going to Deer Valley Airport, going to the restaurant there, watching the aircraft. I never had a desire to be a pilot. I leave that to those who want to be in the air. I prefer my feet on the ground. But yeah, aviation has always been something I've had an interest in. So when the positions became available at Scottsdale, I jumped right on it.
Well, a perfect opportunity. Yeah. So you grew up here somewhere. If you watched Deer Valley, you grew up in Phoenix?
Absolutely. I was born and raised, in Phoenix. So I went to high school over in Tolleson in the West Valley. I spent most of my childhood growing up in Levine, which, gosh, I went there a few weeks ago. That's changed quite a bit. Yeah. So, I went to community college at South Mountain Community College. Sure. I got my bachelor's through NAU online program. So, I've spent my entire life here in Arizona.
That's fantastic. We don't always have natives here, It's nice when we get somebody who grew up here and has seen
it's
how
rare.
Much changed. Yeah, I know. And
very rare.
You talk about going to the West Side or any place you haven't been to for a while, a couple of 2 years or so, and you always get blown away about
even Tempe.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
Tempe, and you're like, when did that come up?
I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
And downtown Phoenix. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
I go down there once or twice a month, and every time I do, I'm like, when did that show up? You know, it's just crazy stuff.
It's the things that, used to be considered really far north are now just really central. So.
I know, including Scottsdale.
The landscape's changed.
For sure. So tell us about your job. What's it all about? What do you do? What are your challenges in your job? What's a typical day, if there is such a thing?
I don't know if there is such a thing really in anybody's role, but planning and outreach coordinator, it's really nice because I kind of have two different sides to my job. The planning side is I work really close with the city's planning department. So anytime there's development or redevelopment within our airport influence area, I'm providing comments to the developers to make sure that we're protecting the interests of the airport. So it's a noise sensitive use. We want to make sure that they're doing noise attenuation, height analysis type things, aviation easements, things like that. The other side of the planning aspect is if there's development on the airport or within the air park that's aviation related. So we're looking at hangars that are coming online to make sure that they're following all the rules for safety and security, that sort of a thing. The outreach coordinator is stuff like this. I get to do tours of the airport. We really expanded the audience that we're doing tours for. We used to kind of keep it to high school students and older. I've worked with the city's leisure education department, and now we're doing tours for kiddos as young as 3 years old.
3 years old?
You would think what's the point? And I used to be very intimidated by the 3-year-olds because they're not impressed with our fuel numbers or our flight operations. But it's great because I can bring them out and they'll tell me, oh, I love the blue one, and that sort of a thing. So it's been fun. I get to travel to conferences, aviation conferences. Aviation is one of those industries that's ever evolving, ever changing, and so we really need to stay on top of it. There's topics like advanced air mobility and that sort of a thing. So I get to go to those conferences and learn all about those different topics. And while I'm doing that, I'm also showcasing Scottsdale and making sure that users are aware of our airport and that they can fly with us and that sort of a thing. So I have one of those jobs that's kind of all-encompassing, and it's a variety of different things, so I don't know if there is a typical day. We just kind of are prepared for anything. That's what we try to be, at least.
Kevin, I think I've asked that typical day question just about everybody, and there's no such thing as a typical day.
Not really.
As soon as I find one, we're going to celebrate it.
No, but Kelly's got a cool role, right? She gets to
Mm-hmm.
go out and like promote Scottsdale like she would be if she worked for a chamber of commerce or something like that. But she also gets to talk to people in the aviation business, which is really, really cool.
And you know something about that, too. You've got some background there, and with them being on the airport commission for a few years back in the
right.
day and all that. So if I ask stupid questions, the first person going to tell me that is Kevin. So just give me a little kick under the table here,
Yeah.
man, and I'll make sure we keep it straight by that. So you talk about some of the changes, particularly in technology and all that. So how do you keep, Scottsdale Airport's known as being probably one of the most progressive airports, I think, in the industry, right?
I would say it's very much sought after. A lot of folks, when we go to these conferences, we get a lot of people coming by to visit our booth or wherever we may be, complimenting us on how we run our airport. So we're all about efficiency. We're all about safety. Those two words you will hear someone in aviation repeat over and over: safety and efficiency, safety and efficiency. So the way that we are trying to, maintain our place and do everything is about every 7 to 10 years, the FAA asks that you do an airport master plan. So we're gearing up to complete that right now. We started in about September of 2024, and so we're almost to the finish line of updating our master plan. So the master plan is kind of this all-encompassing visionary document that kind of looks at how the airport is expected to operate over the next 5, 10, and 20 years. So that way we're prepared. We're getting plans in place to make sure that we can do what we need to do to still serve our role in the airspace system.
Did that require public comment?
Oh, absolutely. We have a
how'd that
massive
go?
outreach program, yeah. So we've had 4 public meetings, public open houses, where we've invited the community to come out. And so we average anywhere between 30 to 50 attendees each time. And so that's been great. We have a whole project website that's dedicated to the master plan, where at any time someone can go online and make a comment about it. So they can ask questions, that sort of a thing. So we've really tried to do a lot of outreach. We've had email subscription notices going out. We've put things on our social media. So our next step in the master plan is go to the city council for a work study session on June 23rd. And then we'll see how that goes. And then we'll put some final little touches on the master plan. And we're hoping to get final approval from the council in August.
That's moving pretty fast then. Huh?
Yeah,
When's it due?
It's not really something that's due necessarily. It's more just kind of like an 18-month to 24-month process from the time that we started it. So the exciting news that we have, there's lots of exciting news, but one of the big things we did is we did an economic impact analysis. And so we took the calendar year of 2025, and we have one of our subcontractors on the master plan, Kimley Horn. They did a whole analysis of all aeronautical activity impacts on the airport and within the air park. So I believe the air park is the second largest employment center in the state. It's massive for jobs. And so, but we focus just on aviation related activity, and we came in at about $1.1 billion economic impact for the city. So we're just underneath the 1.1. I think it was 1.89, something like that. So 1.089.
So is that in scope? Is that a little bit dialed back from previous economic development or economic impact studies?
So the most recent economic impact study Arizona Department of Transportation did back in like the early 2020, 2021, I think, time frame, they looked at the airport and air park as a whole.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
All businesses, not
Yeah.
aviation only. And back then it was $1 billion
Yeah.
economic impact. So they told us they plan on doing another similar study in the next year or so. So we'll get a true comparison then. But we were pretty excited to see just the aeronautical aspect is right around just over that 1 billion.
Yeah, so
right
that's the way
underneath
you should.
1.1.
That's the way I think you should do it, because
Right.
it should count the aviation-related stuff. So that would include tenants on the air park and things like that.
Tenants that are
surrounding who are aviation-related.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Okay.
if you're in the air park, so not on airport property, but
Yeah.
on private property in the air park. But if you're doing, say, a charter company,
Yeah.
anything that's a charter management company, that sort of a thing, that was considered in this study that we did with our master plan.
So can you share some highlights of what the master plan, how it's shaping up?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things we're looking at, again, to stay relevant in the national airspace system is a lot of the owners and operators that currently fly with us and those who want to start flying with us, they have what's called the next generation of aircraft. So for example, the Scottsdale Airport currently operates with a 100-foot wingspan limitation and up to 100,000 pounds in the maximum certified takeoff weight. That's the biggest that we can take right now. So to give you a relevant aircraft example, that's like a Gulfstream 650. And so a lot of these owners and operators, they want to buy the Gulfstream 700 or the 800 or the Global 7,000, 8,000. Now those wingspans go up to about 104 feet. So an additional 2 feet on each side, but the weight goes up to, we're looking at 114,000 pounds, right around in that area. And so it's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, but the good news is those aircraft engines are newer, which means they're quieter. So that's the good news. Louder and larger don't necessarily coincide on this topic. So we have worked diligently with the FAA, the Air Traffic Control Tower, the Phoenix Tracon Tower, our engineers to look at the pavement and the weight-bearing capacity of the pavement to see if this is something that we can accommodate. And we don't have the final answer yet, but everything that we have seen so far is progressing in the direction that we will be able to start accepting those aircraft, hopefully sometime later this year.
Really?
So we won't have to do any sort of runway.
Say no capital improvements or anything like to get that?
It'll be a lot of pavement maintenance, which we already do so much pavement maintenance as it is. I mean, every year that is such a major undertaking for us, is to keep making sure that the pavement is inspected 3 times a day. We're checking the runway, the taxiways, the ramp and the staging areas, that sort of a thing. But we won't have to make any changes necessarily to lengthening the runway, winding the runway. We don't really have the ability to do that. We're so landlocked as it is.
Yeah.
So we can just make a few changes with some of our fixed base operators based on how they park their aircraft. We're going to adjust some things there just to make sure we have the right clearance that we need from the taxiways. And then if all goes to plan, which it's looking like it will, we'll be able to start taking some of those next generation of aircraft.
Where can they go now if they don't come to Scottsdale? Well, they have 2 options, Phoenix and Williams, right?
Actually, Deer Valley takes a lot of those aircraft. Deer Valley, Mesa Falcon
do that?
Field,
Can they-
yeah,
okay.
Mesa Gateway, Mesa Falcon Field. So yeah, typically if we get requests from those aircraft and we have to turn them away, they'll go to our neighbors over in Mesa or Deer Valley in Phoenix. So
interesting, yeah.
yeah.
Huh. Other highlights from the master plan?
Oh, goodness. Everything is going to be looking to see if there is any land available for us to purchase. Again, we're very, very landlocked. If you've been up to the airport and the air park, you'll see there's a lot of development. There's not a lot of empty parcels out there. So just recently, we were lucky enough to come across a property that has a building on it, but we purchased that. The airport did recently with our aviation funds. So we're excited about that. Not only do we need more parking and staging area for aircraft, but we actually need more parking for vehicles. So as people are flying in, they also need somewhere to park their cars. So we're going to utilize that space most likely for some sort of a parking lot. Currently, we may tear down that building in the near future and do some sort of a parking garage, that sort of a thing. So we're still working through those plans. But the master plan is definitely showing us that if we are able to acquire property, to try and do so. But property comes at a price. Most of the parcels in the air park, I think every acre is going for about $6 million or so. That's just the average that we kind of see. So we're keeping our eyes on that. But again, it's hard to come by. So property up there is sparse, I would say.
City Council just approved the parking deal, as I think, right?
Yes,
Was that an
yes.
easy decision for them? And where's the money come from when they look at that?
Yes, so anything that we make on the airport through our revenue system has to stay on the airport. That's an FAA grant assurance that we have to follow. So we actually do not use any of the citizen tax dollar or general fund dollars to operate the airport. Again, everything from our revenues goes towards our salaries, towards all of our projects, that sort of a thing. Something interesting about the airport is we also really work well with the FAA and Arizona Department of Transportation on their grant process. So if there is a project that we need to do, say pavement, that sort of a thing, or security fencing or security gates, we apply for grant funding. If the FAA approves the grant, they will cover 91.06% of the cost of the project. That leaves that leaves ADOT and the airport to make up the other 4.5%, give or take, right? If the FAA says, no, we're not going to fund it, we can still try with ADOT, and if they accept it, they'll cover 90% the cost of the project, which means the airport only has to cover 10% of the cost. So we're very, very responsible with our aviation fund dollars. So Kevin, being on the commission, I'm sure you remember some of those monthly financial reports that we have to go through. So I think it was like 7.8 that we paid for this building, but that all came from the aviation fund.
Okay.
So those were our cash dollars.
They got the cash. Don't worry about it. They're fine. And if they don't need cash, they can always just, raise the price of Jet A a couple cents.
But sure, yeah.
Sure.
We haven't done a rate and fee change in a few
yeah?
years. So yeah. We're very strict with our 5-year outlook to
know
make
you
sure
are.
our budget,
I know you are.
revenues and expenses are aligned.
Isn't it funny how
appropriately.
the FA pays 91.6?
Yeah, I was going to say 91.06.
06.
That's like your temperature or something.
I know, right? It's like, how come they can't go 91.8?
Or like,
Make it a
yeah.
nice even number.
Who came up with that?
I don't know. Actually, that's a great question.
That is nutty. That is nutty stuff for sure.
It's a lot of math.
So there's a parking need out there for both planes and for automobiles?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Space is getting tight, right?
Yeah, a lot of the the charter companies, they need places to park their customers' vehicles when they're coming in to take a flight, that sort of a thing. JSX is a relatively new public charter company that started with us, I think January of 2024. They came over from Sky Harbor, so they started, I believe, flying from Scottsdale to 4 different cities, and now I think they're up to 10 different cities.
Are they really?
Yeah, 1 or 2 of those may be seasonal. I believe Salt Lake City is a
Have
seasonal
you had a
city.
chance to get on one of those
Not
aircraft
yet. I have been on the plane while
Yeah.
it's sitting on the tarmac, but I
Yeah.
actually have not taken a flight yet. But I know people that have, and they love it.
Yeah.
So they rave about
How many
it.
passengers do they accommodate?
They can go up to 30.
I'm going to start looking at that for trips like to Vegas or whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be so
Yeah.
easy to fly out of Scottsdale.
Yeah,
for
well,
us,
you're
wouldn't it?
the guy of your stature. You should be fine like that.
Stature? I'll be looking to
should be
get in a
fine.
jalopy. What are you
You
talking
shouldn't be
about,
flying
man?
commercial, Don. A
Yeah.
guy like you.
I'll be hitchhiking somewhere. Let them pick me up if you see me, would you?
Lots of different charter company options out there for
Yeah.
you, Don. So
Yeah,
when
well.
you get on one, let me know.
I will. Don't wait for the phone to ring though.
Gotcha.
Is the flight schools still a prominent part of the airport? Have you guys grown in the last few years on flight training?
Oh
Or
goodness, we just added a newer flight school recently. I think we're at 10 or 11 flight schools.
Okay.
So we've had some go to other airports in the valley. We've had some come in. But yeah, so we still have quite a bit of flight school activity, I would say, not as much as other airports. And especially during the season, that January to March timeframe, a lot of our own flight schools are even like, well, we'll let the bigger jets get out of the way because it's so busy. It's
if
hard
I
for
remember
them to
correctly,
be
it's always
pattern.
like a little bit of a ratio thing between the more business traffic you have, the less flight schools you can have, or the less smaller
Right.
traffic you can have, right?
Right,
So,
right, yeah. The flight schools work really hard, to fly when they're able to fly and that sort of a thing. So we'll start to see their activity pick up as we see the corporate business jets start to leave for the summer months.
summertime,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So we're very seasonal for sure. I think the Wednesday of the Open, the practice round of the Open, I think we had over 600 flights or operations, I should say. So we count an operation as either a takeoff or a landing. So that was a very busy day. I think that was the
one day.
number that we got from the tower. Yeah.
I don't have the math in front of me. That's got to be like one every minute or something.
Oh,
right?
it was pretty busy.
yeah.
That's crazy.
It was
Yeah.
pretty busy.
Wow.
Yeah. But a day in July, we won't have that many.
Yeah, time to rest up a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. There's other places they want to be in July. So
So there's been a lot of attention paid to the price of jet fuel right now, given
Yes.
the war and all that's going on with gasoline and all kind of fuels. Has that had an impact on traffic at Scottsdale?
Not really that we've seen. So the fixed base operators, we have 3 of them: Atlantic, Jet, and Signature Aviation. They're the ones that are really looking and dealing with a lot of the fueling of the aircraft and that sort of a thing. I think the highest number I heard was that it got up to $10 for Jet A, I believe, $10 a gallon.
What was it before the Iran war? You
Oh
remember?
gosh, I think between 7 and 8.
Oh, was it really?
I
That's
think
a-
off the
that's a big
top of
number,
my head,
yeah.
yeah. So it was a little bit of a jump. I think it's starting to trend back down, but I haven't gotten a new number as of recently. So, but yeah, I mean, there in 2025, I can tell you we had $18.9 million. I'm sorry, 18.9 million gallons sold for 2025, which was the highest at least since I've been there in the last few years. So it's quite a bit, yeah.
Talk about some of the fun things you guys do, because outreach, you got to do some really cool stuff, and it seems like the airport really does a lot to help incorporate the community. Like, do you guys still do the runway thing?
Oh man, what a question! We get so many requests to do Run the Runway and to bring that back. So we
Bring it back.
Yes, we haven't done it in a while,
Okay.
and so we keep talking about trying to do it. Anytime we close the runway for any reason, for any period of time, whether it's a fun event or a maintenance thing, it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
But we've been trying to do other things. We are looking at possibly maybe bringing that back if we can. But we've done a few other things recently. So we just completed our 5th movie night out on the ramp.
So great.
So that's been wildly popular because we can keep the airport and the runway open and operating so everyone can come in, behind the fence. You bring a lawn chair, you sit down on the ramp. Volante Restaurant and Lounge works with us to get different food trucks available out there. We set up a few planes so that everybody can get like an up-close look of it from the outside at least. And then we've been playing a movie. So the first one that we did in April, I think of 2024, was Top Gun Maverick, because what else would you do?
Right.
And then we do April and November. And then in November, the first year, I think we did Elf. So we try to have a little bit of a holiday
We
theme.
did Sandlot. I did Sandlot.
Yeah, we did Sandlot. So then we decided to take a vote. Like we put out a poll. So vote for the next movie. And then everyone voted for Sandlot.
Okay.
This past November, we did Home Alone. And I don't know what happened, but we had 3,500 people show
Really?
up to that event.
3,500?
3,500. Like our first one, I think we had about 1,200. The second one, we had 800. Third one, we had like 700. And then the fourth one I don't know what
Did you
happened.
do one recently then in April then?
We just did one in April, yeah. So we just showed Star Wars.
Okay.
The original, or the New Hope, I guess. I don't know.
I gotta get that on my calendar, man.
Dude,
Yeah.
let's go.
I'm going next
It's
time.
super fun.
November's
Yeah.
next time.
November will be the next
do you have
one.
a date
Yeah.
yet
So
on it
yeah,
yet?
not yet, but we're
Okay.
having like our all staff meeting tomorrow to kind of review how did the last one go and what's the next one going to look
Yeah,
like.
Don, you
So
bring your lawn chair, you go out there, sit on the ramp, you watch the airplane,
came,
you watch
right?
a movie. I came,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
You get a beer from the vendor, you get a hot dog or whatever food truck's out there. It's a blast.
I'm in, man.
Yeah.
I'm in. That's
and the
for
jets
sure.
are still coming and going,
Yeah.
you know.
That
So
would be
yeah, it was
Yeah.
perfect timing. I think during Star Wars, it was one of those scenes that they were, battling with the Millennium Falcon, and then there goes a jet. So it was fun.
Man, November, mark it down. Let's make sure we go.
Yeah, we're looking at doing a few other ideas. We were talking about, this is kind of hot off the presses. We don't have a date for this one either, but we wanted to do a pumpkins and pilots kind of a thing in October if the weather is cooperating, where maybe we have some of the smaller aircraft like the single pistons out there with some of the flight schools,
Yeah.
and we can invite families to come out, and that way you're actually talking to a student pilot or an
Yeah.
instructor if there's someone that's interested in aviation, and you can really get an up close look. So we're always looking for ideas to do more outreach and that sort of a thing. Again, tours are very, very popular. We have an observation deck at our business center. So on the side of our building, there's a stairwell that goes up, and there's an observation deck. And at any time, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. for the most part, anybody can go out there and just take a look at the runway. Yeah. It's really popular, especially right at dusk. Really gets nice out.
that's
The
really
runway
cool.
lights come on. It's really pretty. So.
You did some stuff with charities too over the years, haven't you?
Yeah, a lot of the Run the Runway events used to go to charities.
Government, yeah,
There's different, some of the different charter companies and different organizations around the field. They'll do events with kids, to get kids up in the air, that sort of a thing, to get them exposed to flying and, Make a Wish, or there's different groups that will come out and experience that.
Cameron went out and did an event out there with somebody. Yeah, back in the day.
Did he do Sky Kids?
It was
Oh,
Sky
Sky Kids,
Kids.
yeah.
Sky Kids.
Sky
right.
Kids,
That's
yeah.
right. That was
Yeah.
Sky
Yeah.
Kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a real good. That was a real treat for him.
Yeah.
I got to go, fly around with somebody in a small plane, but
yeah.
it's always a kick to do that.
Yeah,
right?
we've been, we've been doing blood drives. We just had one today. Actually, we did a blood drive, but we've got a few pilots that will donate their time, their aircraft, their fuel, and they'll do blood supply deliveries to different parts of the state. So there's a lot of good news up in the air park that we have going on.
She's got a lot of passion for this job, man. Told you. I'll tell you what, you're
a fun place to be.
you're fun with this. This has been your calling, hasn't it?
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. You can't go wrong with the job up at the airport. It's so much fun.
Now, how much difference is this than when you work for the mayor?
Oh gosh, I think anybody that is working for the city has a passion for the city. So
Yeah.
whether I was in the mayor's office or at the airport, it's because I want to be,
Yeah.
and I want to talk to the citizens, and I want to get out there, and it's not just teaching them, but it's myself learning a lot. But I mean, what an amazing city to work for! How can you go wrong? So it's
Well, in time with Jim Thompson.
oh gosh, yeah.
He was fantastic.
Those are the jobs where you definitely never have a typical day.
Yeah,
In
for
the
sure.
mayor's office and in Jim's office, yeah, there is no typical day. You just never knew what was going to happen. But that's what made it fun. That's why you want to show up to work every day, because it's like, what's going to happen now? So it's always exciting.
So what are your challenges as you look? Look either from you or from the standpoint of the airport. What do you see ahead that you're going to have to start working on?
Any airport, noise. Noise is always a challenge. And it's not something that we're scared to talk about. Noise is always going to be a challenge. So we work really hard on our noise abatement and our pilot's guide that we have to make sure that those that are flying with us are aware of our noise abatement procedures and that sort of a thing. We have a voluntary curfew program, so we ask folks to not fly between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. We can't restrict them, though, because the FAA won't allow that. So we could violate grant assurance policies if we restricted operations. So for the most part, we have gotten some really good relationships and connections with folks trying to not fly during those times. However, we're in Scottsdale. There's a lot of trauma facilities, so we get medical flights that will occur, and then a lot of them will happen during those hours. But noise is always going to be one of those things that's going to be a discussion point, just because we are in a heavily populated community as well. And if you go to our airport, you're going to see it's Scottsdale residents that are surrounding us. It's Phoenix residents that are surrounding the end of our runway. So again, we work really hard with the FAA Air Traffic Control Tower. They're kind enough that when they hold an annual pilots briefing, they invite me along, and I can kind of take that opportunity to speak to the pilots. This is what we're hearing from the community. This area is very sensitive to low-flying flights or to training flights. This area is very sensitive to noise at night. And so it's my opportunity to kind of advocate for the residents and let the pilots know this is what we're hearing. But obviously, if they want to operate, they can operate with us 24/7. So it's a lot of education, I would say, on my part, making sure that I'm keeping up on all the latest and greatest things that are happening with aircraft and noise. The FAA puts a lot of pressure on the manufacturers of aircraft as these newer aircraft come online, to make sure that the engines are quieter. And so that's, the kind of responsibility that the manufacturers have. The city has a responsibility to provide education and information to its residents. And then we ask the residents to do their research, when they're moving into Scottsdale, and to understand where they're at in proximity and that sort of a thing. So, but if you look at the airspace in the state and in this part of the country, it's congested. So at some point, you're probably going to have a plane over your house, regardless of where you live. But that's just the nature of it. Aviation is a growing industry, and so we're trying to keep up with it and make sure that, again, we serve our need in the airspace. So, but yeah, we work really hard with noise, and I'm a part of a group that meets quarterly to discuss different ideas and ways to educate folks and new things that are happening out there. But I think any airport has that challenge.
You guys still getting military aircraft on weekends come in, do parking on the weekend?
Military?
Yeah.
Is that, yes. Not even on the weekends. It could be at any time.
Anytime?
Yeah, it could be at any time. So sometimes we get a heads up that they're coming, but that could change. Their plans could change at any moment's notice. So sometimes we don't get a heads up that they're coming. It just kind of depends. But we have F-18s, we have F-16s, military helicopters, training aircraft like the T-45s. Yeah. They come in quite a bit. So, and a lot of people have questions about that, but it's kind of an easy answer, honestly. If you're a pilot that has to get so many hours of training in, kind of a thing, and if you're coming from the East Coast, where would you want to stop?
Well,
Scottsdale.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why not? And then sure, if you're coming in for the weekend, you're going to probably come in on a Friday and leave on a Monday, and that's an obvious thing, right? So
Those who can do.
those that can do. So
For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but therein lies the issue a little bit, correct? Because Kelly's right. These newer aircraft are a lot quieter and not as much an issue. But when you get the older military aircraft in there,
Loud.
they can rattle the windows a little bit.
I hear them from McCormick Ranch when they come in and out.
I hear them in Phoenix.
Yeah, do you? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But as Kelly says,
It's an airport.
Where else you want to go?
It's an airport, and
They
people who
come
move.
for a
Yeah.
variety of reasons. There's that that military cemetery that's off the 101 and like Cave Creek area. Yep. They'll get requests to come in and do a flyover if someone's passed away.
Sure.
Really? And they'll
Makes
respond
sense.
to those requests if they're able to, that sort of a thing. Or during the open, we've got military flyovers, different sporting events, that sort of a thing. For the most part, none of the maintenance is happening at our airport. They're going to go to somewhere like Luke for something like that. So if they're stopping in, it's usually for some sort of a training reason or some sort of event. Yeah, but they can be noisy. That is for sure.
Great catching up, Kevin, with another update on an important institution in the city. People sometimes forget about that.
We're very proud of our little gym.
You
Yes.
should be. I mean, it's a
The
driver.
airport,
Yeah.
you probably know this, the airport is a really run business. Really, I mean, a part of the city. How many awards have you guys won? A bunch, right?
We try to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you guys,
Do?
the
Yeah.
Scottsdale Airport has been recognized both locally and nationally as a well-run airport, and your executives have won awards for being outstanding executives. So a lot to be proud of up there.
Absolutely, yeah. We're very proud of it, and the leadership that came before us at the airport just laid amazing groundwork, because we've got quite a bit of new staff right now between our director, our assistant director, myself. But honestly, everyone that came before us they showed us how to do it. They did an amazing job, and they really built it to what it is today. So we're just trying to make sure that well-ran machine just keeps running.
Doing a great job, and we love having you on. And November, movie night.
Yes. Stay tuned.
Let's stay
Maybe
tuned.
run the runway someday in the future. Maybe.
I'd go out for that for sure. Yeah.
Just do like a mile.
Yeah.
It's quick. 8,249 feet. You just do the length of the
We
runway.
can do that. We can do
Kelly knows. Look, I don't know the
got it.
stats.
We got a little stats that's going, right?
8,249. We had 18.9 million gallons sold last year.
164,000 operations last year.
Whatever
I
the
think our
FAA
elevation is 1,500, so if you're worried about that.
And the FAA gives us like 96.1,
91.0.
whatever, 91 point whatever it is. That's fabulous stuff. Exactly. I'm glad you remember that stuff, not
Oh,
us.
yes, absolutely.
Kelly, thank you so much for being with us. Great to catch up with you again in this new role, at least in terms of the last time we saw you. And
Yes, thank you.
sounds like you're having fun and doing a great job. So
Absolutely.
really
Come out and
appreciate
visit.
that.
Come
We
and say
will
hi.
do that for sure. And all of you take a minute to appreciate what good work and what value the Scottsdale Airport has in our community. Fantastic.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks to all of you for listening. We'll be back again soon with another episode of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale.